Do you know what do common diseases like cancer, myocardial infarction, obesity, rheumatoid arthritis, depression, lupus erythematosus, psoriasis, osteoporosis, and asthma have in common? The answer is inflammation. The inflammation is a normal physiologic reaction with which the body turns on some functions which contribute with the maintenance of its anatomic and physiological completeness. Wounds, cuts, traumas, infectious areas are examples of situations that can jeopardize life. Thanks to acute inflammatory processes, the body usually gets rid of those problems. But there's a chronic inflammation, frequently silent from the clinical viewpoint or giving a few signals. However, every organ which suffers chronic inflammation can express itself. In the skin, some form of dermatitis. In the brain, difficulties of memory, mood, and attention. In the mouth, gingivitis or inflamed gums. In the respiratory tract, bronchial spasms, cough, secretions. In the digestive tract, hyperacidity, pain, discomfort, diarrheas as an expression of gastritis, duodenitis, colitis, rectitis. In the veins, the trend to develop phlebitis and phlebothrombosis. In the arteries, pain in limbs, in the chest, dizziness, abnormalities in the blood pressure. In the joints, pain and functional limitations. The list is long. This chronic inflammation has a common origin that is an important feature of diet: the imbalance of polyunsaturated fatty acids, omega-6 and omega-3 intake. These fats are components of all our cell membranes. Since several decades, excessive amounts of industrialized vegetable oils like sunflower, soy, corn, rice, and margarines are consumed. Besides, the intake of fatty fishes like tuna, sardines, and salmon is recognized as low. Therefore, those vegetable oils and margarines whose advertising usually remarks that they are cholesterol-free have meant an excessive and sustained intake of omega-6 fatty acids. As a consequence, chronic inflammation has been enhanced in the cell membranes of the whole body. The membrane is the intelligent part of the cell. It gives orders to nuclear DNA about what to do. Using computer terms, we are facing similar functions as the CPU, Central Processing Unit, and the hard disk. The membrane is like the CPU, and the nucleus is like the hard disk. The membrane sends instructions to the cellular hard disk located at the nucleus and indicates it what to do with the information. If the membrane is composed with inappropriate elements, its function might not be the best it could give. When there are omega-3 fats in adequate proportions, the cell membrane is more flexible and elastic. When the membrane lacks omega-3, it becomes more rigid, increases its viscosity, and functions slow down. There are difficulties in the transference of nutrients, hormones, energy, and waste substances. In few words, it is a matter of information transference. The polyunsaturated fatty acids, omega-6 and omega-3, condition the data transmission. Omega-6 fats derive in the synthesis of a very active compound, the arachidonic acid, which under the action of enzymes called COX and LOX, cyclooxygenase and lipooxygenase, is transformed into the messengers called eicosanoids. These eicosanoids give the order to the nuclear cell that it must release an inflammatory response. There are complex physiopathological mechanisms conducting to vicious circles in which there is self-maintenance of pathologic circumstances. An example of it can be given by hyperinsulinism and obesity, since both situations tend to produce pro-inflammatory substances which enhance the deleterious sustained action of excessively consumed omega-6 fats. Therefore, the excessive insulin production stimulates the synthesis of more arachidonic acid. Hence, chronic inflammation is self-maintained. If the pancreas is impelled to synthesize very much insulin, just what happens to the obese subject, glycemia tends to lower its levels. In order to compensate this, the body produces cortisol, which tends to raise the glycemia. But the own cortisol is not enough to reduce chronic inflammation, because it tends to self-perpetuate, causing the production of more insulin and so on. Imagine a person that has an excess of body weight, who consumes frequently margarine, sunflower oil or soy oil, and who consumes several products elaborated with refined sugar or flour, but who does not include any tuna, sardines, salmon or fish oil in the diet. He or she is continuously generating an inner environment which has an imbalance towards chronic inflammation. And this subject is also favoring the presence of chronic diseases, probably according to his or her genetic background. Both omega-6 and omega-3 fats turn genes on and off. Don't you know anyone like this? Maybe somebody of your family or somebody of your friendship? It is an extremely frequent situation. Do you believe that it's pure coincidence the fact that women with breast cancer are more afflicted with hypertension, diabetes, hypercholesterolemia, and gallbladder stones than women without cancer? Don't you know anyone who was diagnosed, for example, with rheumatoid arthritis, who later was diagnosed with hypertension, and later was afflicted with psychic depression? If you know someone alike, he or she will probably receive medication for each one of those diseases. And additionally, if this subject does not manage well the balance of his or her polyunsaturated fatty acids because he or she doesn't know about it, or because he or she thinks that these issues are just propaganda, or even no one of his or her physicians made any comment about it, please let him or let her know that there's a lot of scientific evidence beyond, including the work of the researchers who received the Nobel Prize in 1982. The effects of omega-3 fats are opposed to those from omega-6. You need them in diet, in particular the EPA and the DHA, just to enable the cell composition to have them in adequate proportions. Then the message that the nuclear DNA will receive won't be "there's inflammation, alert, let's begin the action." As a consequence of the balance, the production of not inflammatory prostaglandins is enhanced and pain relief can be achieved. The production of not thrombogenic thromboxanes is enhanced and blood improves its coagulability. The production of not inflammatory leukotrienes is enhanced and the aggressions of the immune system to all tissues is stopped or diminished. In current times, health is an award to moderation and balance. The balance of omega-6 and omega-3 fats is an excellent example of it. Thank you very much for your attention.